Hey guys, it's Penelope in London, and what we're going to do is look at the chart. This is right now what's going on within the last hour, and I'm going to show you what's going on in this chart. And my gosh, when I think it's been such a year, like if we look back and through astrology, I'm going to show you solar fire actually after this and just give you a little view of what Mars did. So Mars is very much like the libido, not the sexual libido, but the libido of the go-getter, like what we want. It's also our impulsiveness. And when Mars goes over planets, you know, as it transits around, it takes 2 years to go around the chart, then we basically, it's like an activation. And it's fascinating how that played out from January through to March when we had the first lockdown and flights being cancelled. And then as we've been through the year, and it seems to have gone so quick. Like if we look back right now, it's just like, you know, this gap of time that's just gone boom, and we're here and it's December and we're going into 2021. It does look astrologically that things will improve, but clearly this is going to be partly dependent on us and our own psyche. We can't, you know, just expect magic to happen without us taking part in that. And there's various ways we do this as human beings. And number one, if you look at your own chart, if you wanted to book an hour with me, we can record the session and I would be able to run through, as long as you've got your time of birth, we can look at your transits upcoming for 2021. We can also look at your, if you've had a birthday recently, we can look at your solar return, which is the year ahead from your birthday. So there's various progressions, or also another way of looking at charts. So symbolism, Carl Gustav Jung used astrology, and he began using it at the age 36 in the year 1911. And I'm very pleased that he did, because for me, it gives me, you know, that's where I feel absolutely at home doing this work, because I understand the symbols and the archetypes and how they do play out, how they can be seen to be playing out. The other thing I would add, that there's somebody I've worked with over the years, as partly he was mentoring me, Simon Vorster, and something he said to me January gone, I had a meeting with him, a one-to-one session, and he said that we need to remember that astrology is just a bunch of symbols and timings and mathematical calculations. The question is, what are you feeling? So hyphenated that, what are you feeling in relationship to that? And then when you understand that, then you understand what the astrology is telling you. So the astrology is speaking to us through the aspects. These are called aspects if you've not looked at an astrology chart before. The planets are in different houses. So we have the houses, and the first house is Aries. But in our own chart, if, for instance, my first house is Scorpio, I'm 27 degrees rising of Scorpio. And that's because I have my time of birth, that I know my rising sign. And then with that we know where the moon falls as well, which is important. So because the moon takes 2.5 days to move through a sign. And if we don't have a birth time and the moon is at the beginning, you know, of a sign or the end of a sign, then within hours it can change into a different sign. So it's really, time is really important. So aspects, the way the planets speak to each other, the houses, you know, the theme, the first house is Aries, and that's to do with self. Second house, values, and also our needs. The ruler is Venus, and of Aries, the ruler is Mars, and Gemini, the ruler is Mercury, and Gemini is our communication and short distance travel. And the sign of Cancer is to do with home. It's the fourth house, home and family and ego, below the surface, what's not seen, childhood stuff. And mother, there's so many different meanings to particular houses and planets and signs. So it's all integrated, it's all poured in, and then we get a picture of our lives. It's a blueprint. And then we have the ruler of Cancer is the moon, the ruler of Leo is the sun, the ruler of Mercury is, again, the ruler of Virgo is Mercury, and the ruler of Libra is Venus, outwardly, and then the ruler of Scorpio is Pluto, and the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, and the ruler of Pisces is Neptune. So you can see Neptune's here on it at home at the moment for 18 degrees. It will be there for a number of years because Neptune takes 184, about that around the chart, if I'm right. Chiron, which is the wound, is our hypersensitivity that we come in with from birth, maybe pre-birth if we believe in past lives. That is to do with our hypersensitivity. So that takes 49 to 51 years around the chart. Mars takes 2 years around the chart, goes retrograde every 2 years as well. And all of the planets go retrograde every year, apart from the nodes. But they do, actually, I won't go into the nodes, so ignore me on that one. But the planets all move around the chart this way. And the node is the north node is the life path and what that we're on, and the south node is where we've been, where we're coming from, where we've been, our gifts, but also stuff that maybe we want to leave behind as well. We don't want to stay stuck in our south node because we're meant to be going forward. So then we have Lilith, which takes 9 years to move around the chart. Lilith is the shadow. In the work of Carl Jung, we could equate Lilith to the shadow. Uranus is to do with trauma and also breaking free of limitations and long-term memory. And the nodes I've just explained to you. The moon is our emotions, and it's our inner world and ego. Ego is not a bad thing. We have healthy ego and unhealthy ego, and in between ego as well. And we also have Venus, which is our needs, and that's to do with our inner needs and our outer needs when it's to do with Libra and how we interact with others, and also the way we hear ourselves. In evolutionary astrology, that's well known. And Mercury is to do with our communication and subjective thinking, and it's left brain. And we have the sun, which is, our will and also where we shine. And then we have Pluto, which is birth, death, transformation, transmutation. Jupiter, which is law, truth, overseas and business and travel, and also to do with religion and spirituality and dogma, and also can be where we're too grandiose as well, depending on how it's used. And Saturn is teacher, karma, father, patriarchy, and more. So this gives you an idea. But this chart today, the sun is at 19 degrees Sagittarius, there, 19 degrees. The moon is 28 degrees Libra. It's just going to go into Scorpio. So what will happen for the next 2.5 days, we're all going to go in deep and be investigating stuff. And probably the timing of that, we'll probably be looking at things like this, the COVID vaccine as an example, and investigating what is truth and, what's true for us as well. We'll be going into the deep because Scorpio likes to do that, and it's psychology as well. Then we have Venus we got Mercury in Sagittarius, so we're very busy looking at truth, matters of truth, and it's conjunct the sun here. It's coming up 14 degrees. It's going to hit the sun 19 degrees in the coming days, or it'll be 22 or later when it's actually an absolute conjunction, but it's already conjunct. It's in orb. An orb is the difference in degrees. And then we have Venus is in Scorpio at 24 degrees. And we have Mars in Aries. It's at home there. Mars was retrograde for 10 weeks, and it went back to 15 degrees, and now it's heading back. So this is going to square some planets, but I'll show you on Solar Fire. And Mars is our libido, what we want to get done. And Jupiter is 28 degrees of Capricorn, and so 23 degrees Pluto, Capricorn, and 29 degrees, look at this, Saturn, 29 degrees 21 of Capricorn. So on the 21st of December upcoming, Jupiter and Saturn will be at 0 degrees Aquarius. We're going into a new time. This is quite beautiful. I know it's not easy for us, but this was very necessary that we had this time out, and the breakdown of patriarchal rule is what is occurring, and we're coming to closure on that, because in 2008, Pluto, that takes 240 odd years to move around the chart, Pluto entered 2008, it hit the sign of Capricorn, and we have the financial crisis, and boom, 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 as it's gone through. And then with aspects, it holds meaning all the way. I can show you now also that I'm going to give you a few of these aspects so you understand meaning of these aspects, which will be helpful to you. So the Sun conjunct Mercury is where we can basically, we're subjective and creative. And if you have this in your chart, it means that, you know, you can be a speaker. So, or anyone can be a speaker if they really wanted to, but it just means that we're more inclined to express ideas and do it in a very good way and artistic. So we will all have this ability, depending on what area it will be in our chart. For me, this symbolism here is happening in my second house, and for me, this symbolism here is happening in my first house at the moment. So again, you need your time of birth. Then we've got the Sun is trining Mars. So the Sun, you see this, it's a trine. That's about 120 degrees. In fact, that's exact. That's an exact conjunction, not conjunction, trine. And this is a harmonious aspect. A trine is harmonious, and it's our desire to, you know, set some objectives and looking at how we're going to reach our goals. It's where we've got energy and competitiveness, but we can be very impatient as well. So we want to watch the manifestation of this. The Sun is square Neptune. So the Sun, and we've got Neptune here. A square is tougher energy, and also it's where we can be overly empathetic and too willing to sacrifice ourselves. So we have to watch this at this time, because we're here to be authentic and self-actualize. And the Sun is in part self-actualization. It's the ruler of, you know, it rules Leo. And we want to make sure that we stay away from any mind-altering stuff at this time. I don't do any mind-altering stuff, but for anybody that does, you know, drugs and alcohol are not good at this time, because we're a bit, you know, we're not stable with this square. Not that they're good at any time. I'm not advocating them, but we do what we do as human beings. Also, we've got you know, so we might use those things like alcohol. We might drink wine to solve our problems, but as we know, we don't solve our problems with doing those things. We still, when we wake up from those things, we still got the same issues. So the moon I won't go into because it moves rather quickly. So I'm not going to bring that into the equation today. We've got Mercury trining Mars. So Mercury up here is also trine to Mars, and this is, again, it's harmonious, and it gives us the ability to think fast, you know, and because Mars is energy moving forward and Mercury is the mind, and it's where we can really do some excellent research at this time, which again is supportive of looking at, you know, what is this COVID vaccine and such like. And, you know, it also allows us to think and be practical. With the Mercury square Neptune, this is a issue for us as well. The Mercury squaring Neptune is an aspect that can complicate our lives. And this is where we can be eccentric, and also where we can change opinions rather quickly. So one moment we might see this with ourselves. One moment we'll be thinking one way, like you might have people who are saying, yeah, I want to get the vaccine. And now they're seeing news come out of things that have happened to people and decide, no, I don't want to do it. So we're toing and throwing in our minds. And it's also where we may not be able to express ourselves, and we might be a bit dreamy at the moment. But it's useful with creativity. But apart from that, also, you know, it can affect our short-term memory. So at this time as well. So we want to make sure that we haven't got any chaotic thinking going on. The Venus is trying to Neptune our needs. So Venus is trine to Neptune here. You see this? This is another trine. And this is a separating. So it's moving off. They're not going to be together for much longer, because it's coming up to 6 degrees separating, but it's been harmonious. And we've also got Venus sextile to Pluto. Pluto's the big one in astrology. So Venus sextile to Pluto. And again, that's harmonious. And it can, you know, it can give us deep experiences with others during these few days. But this aspect also, you know, brings out our talent, you know, in the media as well, if we have that in our birth chart, for instance. And the other thing, it can help us succeed, you know, when we need to succeed as well. The Mars square Pluto is applying. So this is the important one that I'm going to show you on Solar Fire in shortly, that the Mars is applying here to Pluto. So you see it's 19 degrees and that's 23. As that hits 23 degrees, then it's going to become a square, an exact square. So we're about 4 degrees away from that at the moment. And this is a challenge for all of us. And it can make us stubborn, and also it can make us hurtful and very sharp with others. And clearly we're all having very different views right now. And it's where, you know, we can believe in absolute truth, and maybe we can sort of, you know, argue with others in some ways, because Mars is quite argumentative and likes to be warlike sometimes. And with Pluto, it can mean that we think we're right and think that other people are wrong. And, you know, there's also that Mars is in Aries, so it's at home there. The Jupiter conjunct Saturn, we know that that's moving into Aquarius. And then Jupiter is also conjunct Pluto. They're separating though. And Saturn is also conjunct Pluto. There's all this is the conjunction. This is the, you know, very much what happened with our breakdown of patriarchal rule. We can see where it's going a bit pear-shaped, but it's not a bad thing. It's well overdue evolutionary that we're moving through. There is some stuff going on with the node, which is very important. These nodes, if you look, the North Node, it's 19 degrees. It's square to Neptune, and that is also square to the South Node as well. So if we look at that, what's going on, this is why I think we've got some stuff to work out, that with this placement, it's our decisions, you know, it can make us feel quite spiritual, and that can be that our focus on life right now. But also we have another side to it that can make us very vague, and our focus can be a bit, you know, I don't want to say the word screwy, but I'm going to say it can make we're out of focus. So we can be disillusioned and illusion at the moment, and we don't know our sense of direction. So this is going to work two ways. And also it's where we can withdraw our focus from what's important and, you know, not be persistent, and then all of our goals fall apart. So we don't know if we're coming or going clearly at the moment. The North Node is also in opposition to Mercury. So if we look at that North Node and we look at Mercury up here, there's an opposition going on. And again, the positive thing would be, you know, it's intelligence, and also looking for things in the background and the motives, and what can be quite critical looking at things. And we can be open with others, but we might find it, you know, that we can accept criticism during this, but, you know, we don't want to have conflicts. We want to avoid conflicts, really. Or no, actually, do not avoid conflicts. Let's get to the point. Do not avoid conflicts. You know, Mercury in the node, it's like, let's have the conflict out in the open. That's what I'm trying to say. And then what I'm going to do now is share a new screen, and I'm going to go to this animated page. And this is the same chart, but it's on my Solar Fire. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead by hours. So here's the moon. You've got it 27 degrees of Libra. So watch this. In an hour's time, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, it's going to move into 0 degrees of Scorpio. And that's where we're going to go into the deep. And then what we have is that I want you to watch this Mars. And the other thing we've got going on, we've got here, which I'm just beginning to learn and take on board. This is Eris, E-R-I-S. So what you can do is go and Google that. Eris is to do with she's the goddess of discord. Okay. So we can call her she maybe, is square to Pluto, 23 degrees. And this takes over nearly just under 600 years to move around the chart, 500 and something. Pluto takes 240 years. So Pluto's going to move, you know, quicker than Eris will. But Pluto is a slow mover as well. So Pluto will never go all the way around our chart on our natal chart unless we live 240 years. Maybe that will be possible one day. Who knows? And who would want to live that long? I think after a certain amount of time. But future, the Aquarius coming up, and Pluto moving into Aquarius, which will be in 2023, then it will go retrograde for 4 or 5 months, and then it will go direct again. So we've got some, good stuff coming up, because Pluto will come out of hard angles to other planets. So we can, be positive in a way. And I read something earlier that was a thought. So if you just close your eyes and you smile for one moment there, and see how that changes your physiology, how that changes things for you. So we can do this, we can make it through this. We need to look after our mental health and reach out to people as well if we need help. Don't sit there and think, and also don't wrong yourself if you're feeling a bit depressed and down, then it's okay to tell people and not to disassociate from it. So then what's going to happen? Look at this Mars here. I'm going to go forward by days so you get an idea. I think we'll concentrate on Mars. So let's go forward. We're going to go to the 14th. And on the 14th, we're going to have which is the solar eclipse. And that's going to happen in Sagittarius, up here, Sagittarius. And when that happens, we're going to but the moon will have to be exact. So let's go by hours, because it will be, watch the moon, 14th, 23. Oh, there it is. Went too fast. 26, 23. There you go. So it's 23 degrees, and it's going to be opposing, this is fascinating, the North Node. So we're going to have to look at what that means for us. I'm going to do a video on the eclipse in probably the next 2 days. And then you want to know where that's happening in your houses. For me, this is happening in my first house, which really is great for me personally. I'm looking forward to it. I've got some hard angles to it, but I'm happy with it. And then you would see that also that this is also hitting Neptune. So this solar eclipse is square to Neptune, and also the solar eclipse is doing other stuff. There's a S square, which is 135 degrees to Uranus and to Lilith. So Uranus and Lilith. Lilith is the shadow. Uranus is breaking free of limitations, past life trauma. It's to do with long-term memory, and ultimately breaking free of limitations. It rules the sign Aquarius. Then we've got Mars that's going to be hitting Aries. Going to be hitting Aries. So watch this. We're going to go days. So Mars, 22 degrees, right, 23. So we're going to have, this is the 22nd, 21st. Let's go to the 21st of December, because this is the 00 degrees on the solstice and the movement of Jupiter and Saturn into Aquarius. It's beautiful. Then we got, the thing is, we got the Mars, which is like a can opener, which is on top of Eris, E-R-I-S. I'm not saying Aries, just in case I'm double checking that with you guys. And then you can see it's square to Pluto. So this is not small, what's going on here. This is, our libido, our impatience, our wanting to move forward with the goddess of discord. And then we've got Lilith, which is the shadow, on top of Uranus, breaking free of limitations. So I think I could, I'm going to leave it there. But also the other beautiful thing that I noticed as well is that we've got the sun conjunct with Mercury. So this is coming up, and I'll give you more details as we go through the coming weeks and days, actually. Catch you later. Thanks for watching.